Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to Elder Scrolls Lore, a series devoted to educating you about the lore of the Elder Scrolls. So this series is going to be a little bit different than Skyrim lore. With Skyrim lore, I was just trying to prepare people for Skyrim so they knew a little bit about the lore and previous games before they played Skyrim. This series is just more generalized lore. It can be about anything. It doesn't have to do with Skyrim at all. First up for this series, I want to fill a request that was made a while back. That person asked me to talk about the Dwemer. So I'm going to talk about the Dwemer, but I'm also going to talk about the Chimer because they play a pretty big role with the Dwemer. So first up, we're just going to talk about the Dwemer. The Dwemer were a race of Mer, or elves. Their name means deep elves, and I guess this is most likely due to the fact that most of their cities are submerged underground. They might have some towers and such above ground, but most of it was underground. They were mainly from Vvardenfell, which is the large island within Morrowind. They also widely occupy provinces of Skyrim and Hammerfell. The Dwemer are occasionally referred to as dwarves, particularly in Western cultures. This is allegedly due to an encounter the Dwemer had with a group of giants who saw them as small, hence the name dwarves. The Dwemer were actually around the same size as most humans. The reason the term dwarves persisted in the West is most likely due to the larger population of giants there. Now, as you can imagine, they aren't the stereotypical RPG dwarf. This isn't a Warcraft dwarf with a big beard and short and stocky. These are very similar to other elves of the day. Here's a picture of one. As you can see, they are quite reminiscent of dark elves, minus the red eyes. And of course, they do got the beards, but not like the giant, Gimli-looking beard that you see in the Lord of the Rings. But so yeah, that's what a dwarf looked like. The Dwemer were a fascinating race, reclusive, independent, and highly intelligent. The dwarves are most well associated with their technological ingenuity. Many of their mechanical contraptions still guard the ruins of their civilizations to this day. But what happened to the Dwemer? All we see today are evidence of their craftsmanship, but not the race themselves. They vanished. To understand the story, one must go back to the First Era. Religious and racial differences between the Dwemer, Nords, and the Chimer have given rise to conflict on Vvardenfell. However, under the leadership of Indoril-Nerevar, an allegiance is forged with the Dwemer to fight against the encroaching Nords. However, under the leadership of Indoril-Nerevar, the Chimer forged an alliance with the Dwemer to fight against the encroaching Nords. One clan of Dwemer, called the Rurikan clan, did not want to ally with the Chimer. Their patriarch threw his ceremonial warhammer, called Volendrung, across Tamriel, stating that wherever the hammer landed, that is where his clan would settle. The hammer landed in Hammerfell, hence the province's name. The Western Dwarves are not free of the vanishment of their race, however. The allegiance between the Chimer and the Dwemer succeeded, driving the Nords out of Morrowind. Unfortunately, the peace between the Dwemer and the Chimer would not last. The cause? The heart of Lorkhan. Lorkhan was an Aedra, a god of stasis, who is credited with having the most influence in the creation of Nirn. However, this creation, according to Altmer legend, angered the other Aedra, punishing Lorkhan by imprisoning him and tearing out his heart. The Aedra would not destroy the heart, however, because the heart was a part of Nirn. In fact, it was the very heart of Nirn itself. And since the Aedra were present on Nirn, they decided to instead bury the heart deep within the planet, never to be found. This, however, was not to be so. The Dwemer, after much excavating under the Red Mountain, discovered the heart of Lorkhan. The dwarves at this time were trying to achieve divinity, using a mixture of magic and science. The high priest Kagranak believed that Lorkhan's heart was the key. Construction began on the Numidium, a large stone golem which would serve as a god of the Dwemer. Its power source will be the heart of Lorkhan, which Kagranak had enchanted for this purpose with the tools Keening, Sunder, and Wraithguard, which allow for the handling of the heart. When the Chimer discovered of the construction of the Numidium, a new war between the Dwemer and the Chimer began. Many skirmishes erupted on Vvardenfell. The Dwemer were aided by Nord and Orc slaves, achieving many victories on the northern part of the island. The Chimer were losing battle after battle, until Indoril-Nerevar was made the general of all Chimer forces. Then began the Battle of the Red Mountain. With the aid of Ashlander tribesmen, Indoril-Nerevar led his forces to the Dwemer stronghold, located at the Red Mountain. This battle will be the most decisive of the war, with the Dwemer army being defeated. The Dwarven survivors outside of the stronghold were able to flee inside. However, after a short siege and a betrayal on the Dwemer side, the Chimer forces gained entrance to the stronghold and killed all of the Dwemer leaders. Either by coincidence or perhaps because of the Battle of Red Mountain, the Dwemer vanished right at its conclusion. Regardless of the reason why, Kagrenac began to use his tools and specific rituals to attach the Dwemer race to the power of the heart of Lorkhan. This caused the destruction of the Dwemer race. Ironically, the Dwemer king would have aided Nerevar had he known of Kagrenac's plans. Indeed, it could be a coincidence that the Battle of Red Mountain concluded at the same time Kagrenac used the tools. Or perhaps it was the Battle of Red Mountain that spurred the rituals. It could be that Indral Nerevar and his generals Vorin Dagoth, Vivek, Al-Malexia, and Sotha Sil forced Kagrenac to attach his race to the heart. So it could be that Indral Nerevar and his generals brought on the destruction of the Dwemer race. Regardless of the reasoning, the race of the Dwemer is gone. The sole survivor of the Dwemer, Yagrum Bogarn, is stricken with Corporus, granting him immortality, but also constant pain. He explains that the reason he is not gone is because he was not present on the immortal plane when his race was destroyed. And so concludes the story of the Dwemer downfall, from the great industrious civilization to just the ruins that we now see today.